People living in third world countries, what is something that is a part of your everyday life that people in first world countries would not understand, cope with? I walk with my cell phone hidden in my pants because it's extremely common for you to get robbed. I've been through a violent robbery at a dining, and very few people I know haven't been through similar experiences, multiple times even. I'm American but have worked in 70 plus countries over the last 12 years. So let's discuss Nicaragua. There are no addresses, none. Trying to get to your hotel, you'll get a description of the general location using the rising or setting sun, lake shores and other prominent landmarks which may or may not exist. Then the distance from that landmark in a unit of measurement that hasn't been used for centuries. The vara, which is about 2.5 feet. It's truly amazing that anyone gets anywhere in Nicaragua. Having a crap ton of deterrence mechanisms around your house. Burglar bars on all the windows. Trellis doors on your front door and then probably one in the bedroom hallway. Keeping your door locked. If you don't have a fence, you're just asking people to break in and murder you. South Africa. Broken glass bottles set into the top of the brick concrete fence surrounding your home. Stray dogs. Stray dogs, which some of them are hostile, are everywhere. It is not possible to roam in the streets around sunrise when they walk in groups or during night without risking yourself being attacked by dogs. I moved to Europe now, but I am still unreasonably nervous around leashed dogs that people walking. We had a small scare recently with coyotes losing fear of people, and everybody here lost their minds when one sadly attacked a child. I can't even imagine how most here would cope with that becoming a daily. Oh yeah, no, don't bother going out at night, you'll be eaten alive by dogs. I've seen a billion times in TV or whatever media that in the US they drink straight from the sink, but if you do that in Mexico you would end up with cholera or some weird disease. As American children, it was always kind of a joke in cartoons to not drink the water in Mexico. Not many doctors and emergency appointments are scheduled for 1-2 years later. No hospitals are saturated too. Whatever we are given as a donation from other big countries, we either don't have the equipment or specialized people to make it work. You check the price or buy something today, it might not be the same price tomorrow. Inflation is a bee. Cries in Argentinian. Stares at the void in Venezuelan. Here in Peru, especially if you are not from the capital, to get a medical appointment you need to wait 3 months. For surgeries or actual medical treatments it can take over a year. So many people I knew got random appointments just in case something happens. You'd better suffer the hemorrhage that day or you have to pray for the eucalyptus tea to actually work. Thank goodness I was able to move to the capital some years ago. One aspect of living in a first world country is that it's normal for things to work. In third world countries, it's the opposite. Technology, roads, institutions. There is a tacit assumption that none of these things work the way they're supposed to, and that's just the way it is. When you live in the third world, your roads are full of potholes, your lights go out every week, if not every day, everything is on the fritz and politicians are incredibly corrupt. And yes, I know that there's corruption in Europe and the US as well, but it's not like our corruption. Example, in the summer of 2016 I took a trip to Germany and I was at the Hamburg train station, waiting for the 6:50 train to Bremen. At 6:45 the train station attendant announced that the 6:50 train was cancelled, but that there was another at 7:05 and that the train company would be happy to exchange everyone's tickets at no cost. There would be, at most, a half-hour delay. People were flipping the frick out. A girl called her parents in tears. A couple threatened to sue or kill or maim the train station attendant. My German isn't great and neither is my irate German. It was like someone had declared WW3 over a half-hour train delay. In my country, on the other hand, there are no half-hour train delays, because there are no trains. Crap, I wish we had trains. Armed security people. Go to the bank, 2 guys holding AR-15 at the entrance. The beer delivery truck guy with a shotgun. Whenever there's money involved there will be guys holding big guns. I've been pointed twice while walking on the wrong side of the street. I used to wake up to sounds of heavy artillery, now to the sounds of Blue Jays of Toronto. Can't be more grateful. Such dramatic turn of events. I've lived and worked in developing countries. Some of these reflect a particular type of developing environment: post-colonial, tribal, collectivist, fairly late to encounter other societies. A few highlights: women carrying second burner phones in their bras so they can call for help if they're stranded by being carjacked, not being able to access parts of your city fairly regularly due to tribal fighting, not being able to access civil services for ludicrous reasons. One time I had to wait 2 months for a driver's license because the only card printer in the city was on loan for IDs for a high-profile sporting event. People sincerely believing other people got to positions of power by cursing their opponents. Easy come, easy go attitudes to money. This seems counterintuitive, but in a collectivist culture you tend not to be able to retain money. It just washes in and out. Managing money just means distributing it through your clan in whatever way gets you the most benefit along the way. You don't have the option of hanging on to it or even delaying sharing it. Town water and power periodically being rationed. You may have certain days of the week or hours of the day when you can use it. The smell. Garbage collection is user pays and a lot of people just dump or burn it. Extraordinary difficulty, sometimes, to access normal services. Children living on islands may swim to school with their clothes in double layers of plastic bags. People die young. The newspapers are full of obituaries for people in their 30s and 40s. Whole countries held together with twine and duct tape. The army will borrow a tank of jet fuel from a businessman or politician to get a plane back home. My husband once loaned his phone to a public sector chief to call the minister because the department's phone service had been disconnected for non-payment. Government workers periodically turn up to find their workplace chained up by the owner for non-payment of rent. They shrug and go home. TV services will go off the air for days because the power bill isn't paid and no one remembered to fill the generator with fuel. I don't live there anymore, but I used to live in Guatemala. Here's a list of some of the differences I remember. Every house I lived in was inside a gated community. This was the case for many homes in the city of Antigua, where I lived. Each community was like 410 houses surrounded by concrete walls and barbed wire on top. Some had a guard manning the gate. You could not drink tap water. We had a 5-gallon water filter in our house that we filled with tap water. After a few hours, it drip filtered enough water for us to drink. We could not flush toilet paper. The pipes were too small. It had to be thrown away or the toilet would be messed up. Lots of stray dogs. Once we saw a rat running down the hall in the nicest hospital in the area. The grocery store we went to has organization that made no sense. Toothpaste would be put with the canned goods. No fancy aisles. Instead of scanning barcodes, the employees would manually enter each item you purchased. No plastic bags, just cardboard boxes. Earthquakes and power outages were both super common. At night, people loved to light firecrackers in the street for no reason. These things were powerful and had crazy amounts of gunpowder. You could pay people to watch your car if you parked it on the street to keep it from being broken into. There were no traffic lights in this city. You just kinda guessed what other people were doing. The bananas were amazing there though. The open air market was one of the best things about living there. Bananas in the US where I moved back to taste like wax in comparison. In the US, spending the last year living with Latinos and about to marry into a family from Honduras. The toilet paper thing makes sense now. I almost got thrown out of a place last year for putting toilet paper in the toilet, but no one would explain it to me. Gated villages with security guards where houses inside are gated as well with high fences and barbs. This is common even in lower class communities. Our malls have security checks when you enter. It's not effective. Seen as a joke. LOL. 99% of establishments have security checks when you enter. Train stations have airport-like security checks. Not really, but attempted concept. Again not effective, just nuisance. Airport immigration. Our own citizens need to pass through our own human-attended immigration when departing from our country. We have a chance of being not allowed to exit even if we are legally allowed to do so. No crimes committed, not like fleeing. The rationale is that when the immigration officer felt that we are going to look for work abroad even if it is legal to do so in the destination country. If the immigration officer felt that the woman would be meeting her boyfriend abroad, If the immigration officer felt that the person looks like a human trafficking candidate, if we secured a permit and visa to work abroad, meaning we are legally allowed to work in a certain country, we will need to obtain a different clearance to exit to work abroad from our country, which is another level of tedious red tape. Sometimes this really puts off foreign employers, so we end up losing our offer anyway, thanks to my country. I asked a co-worker who comes from a rich family in a poor Central Asian country. He said everything is built on trust and bribes since laws and contracts aren't worth the paper they are written on. Having tall walls or metal fences surrounding almost every house for safety matters, unless you live in a gated community, which usually narrows sidewalks and makes cities look a bit messy. I'll start. In my country, the government switches off all electricity for 2-3 hours at a time, several times a day, to reduce load on the power systems. As I am busy typing this, I'm sitting by candlelight in complete darkness. This happens in small cities in India as well, but on a scheduled basis. It's called rostering. I lived in a small, very remote, fly-in fly-out community in the Canadian Arctic. Because of the permafrost and ridiculous winters, water couldn't be piped to houses or buildings. Instead, each house had a water tank and water trucks would drive around every day and fill them up. It was all fine and good as long as you didn't use more water than normal. Have a few friends over, run out of water. Cook a holiday meal, run out of water. Try to catch up on the laundry you've been neglecting, run out of water. The worst was parties. Imagine 20-30 drunk people in a house with one bathroom, and the water suddenly runs out. Toilet no longer flushes, but everybody still has to pee, so they just keep pee in the toilet without flushing. Fills up dang quick and stinks. Game over if anyone takes a dump, but that's just the way it was. Oh, you have my sympathy. The same thing happened a few years ago at a friend's wedding in a tiny, not exactly a town on central Vancouver Island. The area has decent road access, however, so they called for a pumper truck in the middle of the reception. The level of corruption. If you want to get something simple done, like get a passport or receive a duplicate of your high school diploma, it's all handled by the government, which is oversaturated, so it takes months, even years for things to happen. Unless you pay someone a small bribe, then it gets done immediately. Third world doesn't mean poor, it means unequal. The rich folks have everything, and live just like they do in America, but the poor, they're poorer than your worst nightmares. The poor in third world countries see the poorest beggar in America and dream to one day be as rich as they. They are excluded from so much and no one cares. Funny thing is that many of these third world countries spend fortunes on welfare initiatives that never work, and which are instead used to funnel money to corporations owned by politicians, or to move people in need to vote a certain way. People will sell their vote for a meal, because sometimes one meal is all they'll have for weeks. The powerful want the inequality because that makes it easier and cheaper to manipulate the poor. Third world doesn't mean poor country, it means unequal country. I'm from a developing third world country and I agree. People often stereotype that someone from my country is poor, but in fact there are many rich people that live lives similar to people in developed countries, while just a few streets over there is insane poverty and inequality, extreme ends of the spectrum. There is no wrong way when it comes to driving. You drive wherever you see a way. You are wrong only if you get caught by the traffic police. You only have a nice dinner once per month, once the paycheck comes in. A nice dinner for most people being a $4 roasted chicken and homemade fries. In Lebanon, a loud boom can literally be anything, including an Israeli attack, ammonium nitrate, the airport was bombed, the electricity company was bombed, aftershock from a plane that just bombed us, sonic boom right after a bombing or chemical explosion, a bomb planted in a car for an assassination. We've had over 12 in the past 20 years alone. Our neighbor Abu Ali loading up his RPG to celebrate the birth of his new son. Our neighbor Abu Ali shooting his RPG because his favorite politician is talking on live TV. Our neighbor Abu Ali shooting his RPG because his son passed his brevet or back 2 exams. Our neighbor Abu Ali shooting his RPG because Ali died from bullets they shot when his cousin was getting married. Dang, you need to have a serious conversation with your boy Abu. It used to be seasonal, but now we have dengue season year round. I'm not sure if it's a third world country thing. It might be a tropical country thing, but it's common to hear about people dying from dengue all the time. We have education programs, so we're all supposed to be able to identify the specific mosquito that transmits dengue, Aedes aegypti, as well as the places ways they can grow. Hyperinflation. In my country, the currency used to be 1 peso equals $1 in 1999. Today it is $1 equals 74 pesos. And the increases in prices happen every day. Imagine buying food one day and then a week later the same food is worth 10 times more. And that's why we are the country with the most expensive Big MC. Brazil. Even though I live in a very good neighborhood, honestly it's the constant threat of violence everywhere you walk past 9 PM. I don't know if first world countries experience that, but it's something we're used to dealing with now. I don't know how it is in other countries, but here, Poland, I've never felt that fear. Many times I'd walk around the city in the middle of the night without even thinking about it, and I'm a woman. Sometimes I think to myself, this whole city is my home. I'm safe at home. It's shocking to me to think that you guys got used to feeling unsafe. Technically having a boyfriend-girlfriend is against the law in Iran. We still have a significant other, but sometimes when you're walking in the street police might stop you and ask for your marriage license. And if you don't, it actually can be a real problem. Women with 3 warnings should appear in court and men will be fined and maybe caught too. Even if you're not together, just friends, you might end up in court just because you had a friend from the opposite sex. And I can list crap like this till tomorrow and it won't be half of the crap we go through in Iran. Brazil. When it's past 10/11 PM, it's better to pass trough red traffic light than taking the risk of being robbed. BTW, I live in one of the richest states. Access to books. I moved to London in 2015 for uni, and the ease with which I could get whatever book I wanted blew my mind. Remember the first time I walked into an Oxfam bookstore and the classic literature that cost £1 literally floored me. These are books that have shaped the modern world, and here they are practically free. It may sound nonsensical to you, but I would have had to pay through the teeth to get something like the Odyssey, and that would have had to be ordered from Amazon and does not operate in my country and arrive in 2 to 3 months. Best believe I had more books in my suitcase than my actual clothes when it was time to go home. This is just a social aspect of it. Where I'm from, South India, it's against the school rules or any rules in fact that date people. Like you just weren't allowed to have crushes, be in love, forget any physical intimacy, just the concept was forbidden. LOL dating, it seems. We weren't even allowed to talk to girls in schools. School was co-ed though, which sounded silly. I know the people in this thread are toning it down, but personally I find living in a third world country unbearable now that I've moved to the States. I moved to maybe 20 of them while I was a kid in Africa, and some are better than others, but nah, it's not good. The corruption is serious, like I don't think people get how serious it is. Cops ask for bribes constantly. Security is armed to the teeth and at the complete mercy of whoever hired them. The government has complete control. Food, water and electricity are not guarantees. You have to hustle to get internet in some places. Your house is super protected because people try to break in. You see people starving to death, thirsty, going mad, sick, clearly maimed people begging on the street. Kids hearing that people they know are dead is a regular occurrence. You may even see someone that died on the road. That's just in an average place. In the really bad places I've met mercenaries, people that have killed, women fleeing traffickers, autistic and mentally ill children that were cast from society for being different. Heck, slavery was legal one place I lived until 2007. All of this was seen before I turned 17. This is also ignoring the social problems that rampantly exist in those societies due to colonization and the West being perceived as better. You frequently meet people with such potential that have been beaten down by their society. To function in those societies, you have to consciously ignore the horrible things you are seeing and experiencing. It made me extremely strong mentally compared to most people I meet in the States, but I couldn't remain blind to what I was seeing. Chose to go to college somewhere else. Whenever I go home I freak out because the problems are huge. I can't focus on the positives. That's rough, man. I'm grateful you made it out. My heart breaks for those still trapped in that situation. Hopefully better days are ahead. If you want hot water, you have to go buy a propane tank to hook to your water tank. Oh, also don't forget to turn the water tank on with a match or something like that. That way it'll heat the water for the house. In a village I visit in Honduras, they get drinkable water once every 8 days. Any other water they get they either have to get out of a muddy creek or catch in the Pila, like a small cistern. I currently am a medic in UK. When I worked in public health sector in India, there would often be multiple babies who needed ventilator but none available, so we would sometimes put breathing tubes and manually press a bag all night every few seconds hoping the baby would survive. Sometimes multiple babies would need it and we'd just make the parents do it due to lack of enough people. Most of those babies died. It's heartbreaking and unimaginable to developed country medical facilities. That's horrible. I can't imagine having my kid's life literally in my hands. Paying strangers to look after your car if you park in any not so safe streets. Each street will have at least an individual who takes care of that street. Of course if you don't pay, God knows what they gonna do to your car. If you get sick, you're pretty much on your own. Simple things like a cold can kill you. Cops are not your friends. In fact they are probably friends with robbers. We have water once every 3 months. You have a tank with water and you must be very good at rationing it. If you are robbed, raped or a victim of any crime, you should think carefully before calling the police. Something like, is this really worth taking a chance on? Forget about delivery services. They don't exist. They are not safe. Do you want to buy something on the internet? Forget. Did you buy something online and use a generic mail service? Goodbye to your object. Wait 10 hours in line to buy food? Yes. The fact that you will see people die in front of your eyes for violent crimes several times during your life and you will accept it as normal. Learn to detect people within a 200-meter radius around you when you walk down the street. Your currency loses value in exponentials. Literally. Spotify, Uber, SoundCloud, Netflix lol. Load shedding during 100-degree weather. No regulated hot or cold water. Even lower income homes have maids to come in and clean the house. Fast food is considered a high-class treat and expensive. McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Dunkin' Donuts. Cell phone service is cheaper and cell phones themselves are very expensive. The magic of Pakistan. In my home country, Egypt, when you enter most malls, if you're in a car they have a police dog sniff your car before you enter. Meanwhile men with guns are standing till he finishes his examination. And if you're entering without a car you go through a metal detector and get body checked by a guard. Same thing with churches. I don't believe this is common practice in Western places. I live in Syria. Beside the usual third world countries package of corruption, poverty, no electricity, safety issues, we also have a crap load of US and EU sanctions against us, which means we absolutely have no way of online paying. I can't even open Coursera or Duolingo without VPN because they banned Syrian IPs. One time I wanted to work online to get a better wage than Syrian wages, and I discovered that almost everyone can't risk to employ a Syrian citizen out of fear they might be violating US sanctions and get in legal trouble. To get an idea of wages here, I'll graduate medicine this year, so the wage of the residency programs in our hospitals is $25-30 compared to the Germany wages of 2000 4000 euros. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.